Hey my Troll Train Riders, welcome back to the Crazy Troll Nation of YouTube. We start here with chapstick. My name is Dion. I'm excited for today's video. My first collab, hopefully not the last, with none other than Jamila from I Am Jamila. I will tag her below and also her video will be below. And what we're talking about today is, would we recommend the new Nomad palette? We both did receive it. I'm going to try to multitask while I'm telling you about Jamila. I love her channel. She's from one of the beautiful islands and she's very professional, very detailed. I'm a troll, so you know what you get when you come here. She's very detailed with her reviews. She does amazing eyeshadow looks, and she also posts on Instagram, and I will also post her Instagram link down below. I find her to be very pleasant, very honest. She'll tell you what she likes about something. If she doesn't like something, she will explain to you in detail why. She won't just hype something up because it was sent to her. She will give you her honest opinion, and even just watching like her facial expressions and hearing the inflections in her voice, she's authentic. She's gonna really tell you her experiences and her perceptions, and that's what I really like about her channel. And her looks are amazing, like all the time. And you know, when I get all grown up I want to be just like her. I love her channel. I love her personality. If you don't know who she is, if by chance you haven't heard of her, please check her out, and please do subscribe to her here on YouTube and also follow her on Instagram. She is just an overall well-rounded, balanced person. That's the impression I get. And so I want to thank you, Jamila, for collabing with me. I was super excited. I've been wanting to collab with her because I enjoy her content so much. And I'm like, I just want to work with her. I just want to collab with her. Because for me, collabs bring the community a little bit closer. And when you collab with someone, you're going back and forth in messages, you're chit-chatting, and it forms a bond. And so I'm really happy that we were able to do this, and now we're doing it. So thank you for that. So as I said, we both did receive this palette. I have used every shade in this palette at least once, some of them twice. I do have 5 looks on my channel now. What I'm doing this time, and then I'll tell you what my final thoughts are and if I would recommend it, I'm going to compare this shade with this one and this one with that one, and I will put the names here as I'm applying them on my lid. And I'm doing that because in the Fête de Provence palette, the 2 reddish tones looked identical on my lid, and that may or may not impact my final thoughts about this palette. And also this shade and this shade, even though they don't look the same, the other 2 didn't look the same, but on my lid they did. And so for one eye, we're going to do first half of the lid, second half, first half of the lid, second half, and that's all we're going to do. So we're not doing full looks unless it's looking funky, and then we might take this and just put this in my transition area. But I just want to see if these shades look the same. So this first shade, I have 4 of the Hourglass number 3 brushes, and these are what we're going to use for our lid shades. And so this is that first shade. We're not going to tap off. If I'm looking weird, and I know I look weird usually anyway, I have my contacts in, which helps me see distance. And so looking up here, I'm blurry, but I can see me clear back here and in the mirror that's down here. And so if you see me going side to side, I'm just trying to see more of what you're seeing versus what I'm seeing in the mirror down here. So this is the first shade. I will say right now though, all of the shadows apply very well. The Fenty primer is a tacky primer, so I have no problems putting the mattes or the metallic shimmer shades on my lid. For some of them, I do think it may be better with a sponge tip applicator, but I don't feel like it's necessary. I'm going to take a clean one and go into this shade on the outer part of my lid. And see, this is what I was wondering, if they were going to look the same. They are both beautiful shades. And so we're just going to leave this like this because I just want you to see. Looking down here, this one is more orange, even though it's a pinky shade. And this is more of a true pink, I guess. But they're still very close. This one seems to be more sheer, or it may just be because I have this coloration on the inner portion of my lid. So that might be what I'm seeing underneath that shade, or it is just more sheer than this one that I'm putting here. So we're going into the orange shade, this shade up here. We're not tapping off. I was thinking of how I always say I love Nomad's formula, and I was thinking of how the formula is not identical for every palette. Each palette that I have, you know, I bought a few and then they started sending me PR, so I have a few in PR. And even though I do love the formula, each palette has a different oil in it. So that means the formula is not identical because it's just a different oil. The orangey pinky shade on the bottom. This would have been a good comparison also to one of these, I think. So this is what this is looking like. And you can tell that they are different shades. This shade, again, looks sheer, but I don't know if it is or if it's because I have this coloration on the inner part of my lid and I have moles, or if you want to call them freckles, on my lid as well, which may make colors look a little different. We're taking two of these brushes and we are going to go into that brown shade at the bottom, and we're going to do this eye first. So it was interesting for me that each palette has a different oil in it, and surprisingly, with my sensitive skin, I do not have an issue with any of their formulas. My eyes never feel sensitive. They never get teary because of the shadows. They may get teary because of my eyeliner, but never because of the shadows. None of the shadows stain my lids. I mean, everything is just perfect with the application and how they blend out and how they perform. I will say with this palette, the 6 shimmers that are in here, they do crease on me. I do, as you see, I take my lid shades up into the transition area because if not, all you would see is this strip of lid right here. So I take my lid shades up higher so that when I'm looking straight, you can still see that color. Excuse me if I'm slurring my words. And so I notice that the shimmers in here, each one I've used, and I have used them all, they do crease on me. But I can only see it if I look in the mirror and go like this. If I just raise my brows, you're still not going to see it because I still have some skin folding over all of this puffiness here. So even like this, you're not seeing like you would if I went like this. And so it's not a problem that it creases. And even if I pointed it out to someone else, I really don't think that they would notice, to be honest. And so for me, it's not a problem. And in the other Nomad palettes, Haunted Europe, 2 of the shimmers creased on me. And I think 1 or 2 in America's Parks creased on me. And so it's not all the shimmers in all the palettes. And it may have something to do with whatever the oil is that's in that particular palette. We're going to take the clean one, that same shade, and we're going to put that over here. So for this palette, would I recommend it? I'm not happy that these 2 shades to me look the same. And these 2 are not far off. You can tell this is more orange and that's more pink. But is it distinct enough to not feel like I'm having, you know, a possible shadow dupe? Especially looking at this pink and these 2 over here. So that may be something to think about. And it may be my skin tone, it may be my undertone. But either way, it's something to think about if these 2 shades, or these 2 and this one making 3, will look the same on your lid. Because you have 18 shades in here. But if 3 are showing up the same, you really only have 16 shades in here. And it may come down to if you like that shade enough where it's not going to bother you because your happy is there because you're going to use it because it's one of your favorite colors. So that's a con for me, and that's why I wanted to compare to see what the shades look like side by side. For some, it might be a plus. Some people may not care. And there are differences in tones. I can see differences in tones, but is it enough? You know what I'm saying, to justify. The palette is $44. They do have singles for every shade in here. Singles are $5 a piece. What I will say about this palette, do I recommend it? If you look at this and your brain is like, what the hell is this? Because some people have said it looks scattered. They don't know what to do with it. It looks very chaotic. And I'm not going to lie to you. When I first looked at it, I did think like, wow, this is different. Not in a bad way, but just that it's different. And I do like when palettes have the colors scattered, because it does look scattered to me. It does look a little chaotic, but the way my brain works, because it is a little chaotic, it makes me want to be creative and think, oh, what can this go with in this palette? What can this go with in this palette? And so what I looked at was, okay, this shade here, you know, might go with this one, or, you know, do a look with these three, put this in my transition because of how it looks. It can be a transition shade for my complexion. Looking at, you know, these four right here, that may possibly be a look, or even like these three. Or you can do a look with this one, with that little quad. You can do a look with this little quad right here. These three right here, I think would be a really pretty look as well. Nikki Raven, I will put her video below. She did looks by columns. And I'm just like, what? Because when you look at this and you see the columns, I think she called them rows, but she did columns. And I was like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. And most videos I saw, they did monochromatic looks. The green, the green, the green, the green, or the purple blue, this blue, and like one of these shades here. So you can do monochromatic, you can bounce around. As I said, you can do, you know, look and see, you know, this would be a nice little quad right here. Even like this row right here, this brown coming down this way would be a nice look as well. And so it being chaotic, it being scattered, it makes me look at it and it makes me feel creative, like, ooh, what can I do? 80% of the looks I do, I like. 10%, I'm like, this is okay. 10%, I'm like, ooh, troll. But that's how I learn, just by experimenting and trying things. And so if that's you and you're that type of person, then yeah, go ahead and get it. If you like this color story, if you like vibrant colors, because these are vibrant colors. You know what I'm saying? So if you like vibrant colors, get this palette. Keep in mind what your complexion is and what your undertone is, because that makes a difference in how shadows will look on your lids. And also think about, if you're a deep complexion, this is your only deepening shade. And if your complexion is deep, that might just be your transition shade. And so then you need to think about, would I be okay with this palette having to go into another palette for a deepening shade or a transition shade? So that's something to think about too. So this is the deepest shade. You see how it applied? It applied lighter than it looked. But in the pan, it looks like a dark brown. But it's on me, it doesn't show up as a dark brown. And so that's something to think about. Think about if you would get use out of the entire palette. If you would only get use out of like 4 shades, just buy the 4. They're $5 a piece, that's 20 bucks. So just do that. If you just want the shimmers, it's 6 in here, that's $30. The palette is $44. So just kind of do the math. If you don't want the whole thing, if it's just a few shades that you would like out of here, then just get those. Excuse me. If you like monochromatic rows or columns and palettes, you could still get this one. I saw a video yesterday and she rearranged her palette to make it more or less within the color story. And these are not magnetic. They are not removable. because someone asked her, were they? And she said, no, it took her time, but she did get them out. I would be scared to do that because I wouldn't want to ruin my shadows. But she rearranged it and showed a picture of how she rearranged it. And it did look monochromatic according to Color Stories. But for some people, they're able to do looks easier that way. For me, it makes me less creative because I'm just seeing one color. Or if there's 3 color stories, if I'm seeing pinks and purples and then greens and then blues, all I'm seeing is monochromatic looks. This, the way it is, as I said, makes me want to be creative. It makes me think, what can I do with this, or what can I top this with or put where? So that's something to think about too. And also think about, what is your aesthetic? My personal aesthetic, I love a bold eye. I love warm tones. I love a smoky eye. I love a grungy eye. So even though I like almost all the looks that I did with this palette, I think one I was kind of iffy, but the other looks I really did like. When I first saw them sneak peeking some of the colors, it was a bright red, it was a green, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And then they did a sneak peek of one of the shimmers, and I'm like, okay. And so I was still just like, is it going to be dark, grungy, smoky? And I also love me with a dark lip. And when I received it and I looked at it, I said, this is more vibrant in person than it's looking like on your end. And I do have a video where I did forehead swatches, I believe. It is more vibrant in person. So when I got it, I'm like, this is really a nice palette, and it is unique to my collection, the tones that are in it. And so I am thankful that Nomad sent this to me to try it and to have it. And I am really liking it, even though it's not my aesthetic. So that's something to think about, because I will do looks like this, probably not these colors again, but I do monochromatic looks. I do so-called wearable looks, work appropriate looks, that type of thing, even though my preference is dark or smoky or bold. You see what I'm saying? So that's something to think about too. If you only do dark or vampy or goth looks or grungy looks, this palette is not going to be for you. I understand you may like, a few of the shades. Just order them individually. Just get the singles. And so I recommend it if you really believe you'll get use out of all of these shades. Keeping in mind, if you're a deeper skin tone, this is your only deepening shade. You're going to have to go elsewhere. If you're doing a green look, this shade, this one, you can deepen it with that one, yes. If you're doing a pink look or red look, you can deepen it with that, yes. All of the shimmers look really nice. Even if you put them next to each other, it turns into like a dual chrome type look. You can use the shimmers on their own, and you can use them as toppers on any of these shades. My favorite tool to use with shimmers is a sponge tip applicator, even if I'm layering on top of a matte shade. I haven't experimented with the shimmers over a black base yet, but I will be doing that. And I am pretty sure it will just make them more vibrant, which is my history with putting shimmers over a black base from Nomad and from other brands. So if you're going to get use out of all of this, and you like all of these shades, and you won't mind going into another palette for a deepening shade if you're a deeper skin tone, then yes, I do recommend it. Also, if you don't mind that it's not organized according to color families. If it bothers you to look at this and it hurts your eyeballs, don't get it, because you're going to get it and you're not going to know what to do with it. If you are not into vibrant, bold colors, don't get it. That's all I know to say, really. So it is personal preference, but I'm hoping I said enough to give you something to think about of whether or not you're going to buy this palette. Because for me, it's always, will I get use out of every shade in here? And for me personally, I am disappointed that these two shades look the same, and this pink looks like it would blend in with these, even though it seems orangey, and maybe because it's next to the orange, I don't know, they kind of blend in together too. And so that's disappointing for me, because this one and this one on this eye, I would have rather have had you know, maybe a black or even like a charcoal color in here for deepening versus this and this, because they look the same. And just keep the orange because that's different. So just have one of the reddish shades and have the orange. Well, this is the orange, I'm sorry. But then put something else here. Put another deeper shade up there. Maybe even a deeper brown. You see what I'm saying? Something just to deepen it up for those who are of a deeper skin tone. So that's what I would have liked. So that's my only disappointment, is that these two look the same and these two look the same. And so that's my recommendation. And I hope this was helpful. I hope I wasn't really scattered. I did have Mountain Dew today, so I'm kind of feeling like I don't know what's going on. And thank you again, Jamila, for doing this video. I'm excited to hear her thoughts on this palette. And I will say also, because I do have discoloration on the inner part of my lid, I can still see that under here, and I can also see my moles or freckles, whichever you want to call them, in this area here. And so I would need to top it with a shimmer to camouflage that, or use a colored eyeshadow base underneath, because I can see my skin underneath that shadow. So either it's sheer, or my discoloration is just that dark, or my moles are just that dark, and they are, because you can see them on my face and other places too. So that's something to consider too, is if you do have discoloration on your lid, you're going to need a colored base to cover up or to camouflage the discoloration on your lid, so that you'll just see the color itself and not your skin underneath. So that's another thing to consider. So lots of things to think about, lots of things to consider. Last thing I promise. Most pastels, actually all pastels I've used, look ashy on me. I don't think these look ashy on me. And I'm just like, whoa. So that I like, and that's a definite plus, because I can put this on the lid and not look like I'm in a casket about to be buried. And even the orange, which I don't think I'd put it on the lid, I'd probably use it for a transition, but just to see what it looks like, I'm liking that it doesn't look ashy. And so I'm really excited about that. The top row in Fête de Provence, it made me look ashy, and I was just like, whoa. And then the two reddish shades look the same, so I was just like, ugh. But everything in here works for my complexion and for my undertone. And Jamila has a warm undertone as well, a golden undertone as well. Our complexions are different, but our undertones are the same. And so I'm really excited, Jamila, to hear what your thoughts are. If you recommend it, what the pros are for you, what the cons are for you. And I hope this was helpful to those of you who are considering getting the new Nomad palette. And if you do have it, comment below on what your thoughts are. Or if you do videos on your channel, feel free to tag me so I can make sure to watch that video, and or tag Jamila, or better yet, tag both of us. And so if you're here first, go check out Jamila's channel, her video, see what she's saying. If you're not subscribed to her, please do. And then come back and check out other stuff on here. I do have a Nomad playlist. I do have an unaffiliated Nomad code, which is Dion, which will save you 10%. Non-affiliated mean I do not receive a commission, but you will still save 10%. Use somebody's code on Nomad site if you're going to purchase from them and save yourself some money. And if you're here from Jamila's channel, just hang tight and watch something that's going to pop up over here. Thank you for visiting me. Thank you for being here. Thank you again, Jamila. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just super excited. We finally did a collab, and all of you will see me soon. Thanks.